you've worked on this problem under various presidents. And frankly, presidents for, if not 47 years, for a lot of years, have been very worried about a nuclear Iran. I think we can all agree that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
That would really be dangerous for a lot of people. Does Trump have a point, in fairness? This is a real risk of a nuclear Iran that we need to address?
You know, this gets to something larger, which is we're living in a time and a period where that is so binary, where it's impossible, it seems, for people to hold multiple ideas in their heads at the same time. And so, yes, from, I think, perspective of the United States and many countries in the region and around the world, a nuclear Iran is not a good thing, which is why administration after administration has looked at how do we deal with this. But the conclusions that previous administrations drew were different than the ones that President Trump drew. During the Obama administration, when we got the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal, of course, we looked at military options. But we concluded then that if we exercised a military option, one, there could be all of these second and third order consequences, including the Strait of Hormuz, including attacks on our forces and our people in the region, including attacks on our partners in the region. And to what gain? We assessed back then, it's been publicly reported, that in all likelihood, if we went at the program, we might gain a couple of years at best, that Iran would rebuild, and it would rebuild deeper underground, it would be harder to get at, and we'd be right back where we started. On the other hand, doing the hard work of diplomacy, getting a deal, bought us, in the case of the JCPOA, 10, 15, 20 years, depending on the different constraints. And at that point, had the Iranians decided, okay, the deal is now sunsetted, the different provisions have now expired, we're going to go for a nuclear program, a nuclear weapon even. Well, what typically happens is you either renegotiate or extend, and if they don't want to do that, well, the military option is still there, except with a lot more information, because during this time, you've had inspectors looking all throughout Iran at what they're up to, where they're up to it, and so we would have been fine. The only thing that the Iranians really got was money, not insignificant, except most of the money was theirs. They paid for the deal. It was their frozen assets that we had bottled up from the sale of oil that we released to them. Lifting sanctions on investment in Iran proved to be not much of anything, because even without the sanctions, very few people wanted to invest in Iran because it was such an uncertain place to do business. So that was the basic assessment. When President Trump and the Israelis went at the nuclear program last June, my concern back then was, okay, this is going to be exactly what we were concerned with. It's at best a temporary fix, and it could actually ultimately make the problem worse, because they will rebuild. They'll build it underground in ways we can't get at so easily. And maybe we'll buy a year, maybe we'll buy 2 years. But if you can get a diplomatic deal, you might buy a lot longer. Yes, you have to pay for it. That's the challenge. But I think that's still a better bargain than this military deal with all of these unintended consequences that many of us gamed out, but apparently were not factored in this time.